Yeah, sure. Let me get the link.
Says we're live right now.
I just got a note that we're live too.
Okay.
Just give me a sec.
Get into that screen. Silence that one. Do I still have you?
I'm still here.
Oh, cool.
Just give me a sec to post all the links out. Yeah, it's nice working with good internet.
Oh yeah, definitely. I see Chris. Hey Chris, how you doing?
Oh man, I can't see the chat right now. This sucks. Get on Twitter really fast.
We got Curtis.
And perfect. Cool. I got it tweeted out on my end.
Oh, did you? Okay, perfect. Let's see.
So you tell me when we get started.
We can start anytime you're ready.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to keep the Hangouts page up because the lag with YouTube's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it is.
You know what?
Pop my chat back out here.
Let me actually
have it on my chat window. There it is. Got it.
Perfect. I'll try running chat from my phone.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, might as well.
So what happened here is I started a print earlier today. I thought it was a 6-hour print. Turned out it was a 9-hour print, so it's going to be printing for a while.
3D printer people problems.
Yeah. Go ahead and turn my speaker up so I can hear you better.
Well, that helps.
There we go. Gotcha.
Awesome.
So what do you want to talk about?
Well, I think what we talked about last time was pretty much just like talking about what our opinions were on like lower priced / cheap 3D printers. And if we thought they were like a good idea or not.
I think it all depends on the person. If you're a tinker, then yeah, they're definitely worth getting into. But if you're not, that's like this one right here. I want to say that I want to say this goes for like $4.59 or something like that, and usually with free shipping at that price. Then of course my other one was $330, and that was free shipping on that one. But it was a kit. This one here was fully assembled, and I mean when it comes to cheaper printers, if you're not a tinker, I recommend getting a fully assembled one, cheap or not cheap. But otherwise, a kit printer, man.
We learned that one the fun way with the smalls that PJ sent you. That thing is cool, but it also kicked your butt a couple of times, which I mean it's to be expected. I mean, no offense to Printerbot, but obviously it didn't have the world's best instructions.
Right.
So I think that was kind of a letdown in that department, but it wasn't like it was impossible to put together. I guess my main concern with a cheap printer is obviously it's like, what are they sacrificing to make it so cheap?
Right. Exactly.
You know, is it the quality? It's like, yeah, the machine might last 3 months, but is it going to burn out the power connectors? Is it going to fry the board? I mean, I've had at my old job where I was maintenance on 3D printers, we actually had a couple of power supplies. Literally a capacitor just exploded. Power supply started chugging smoke, and we had to shut the machine down like that because we thought it was on fire. I mean, it was, and they were decent quality machines at that. It's just, you know, when things go wrong, most people don't know how to deal with it, or if they do, they just don't want to.
Well, that's the thing too, and that's, I mean, anytime you're dealing with a lower price anything, there's going to be some sacrifices made somewhere, whether it's when it comes to connectors or something. I mean, there's always going to be some kind of sacrifice.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess my main concern is from the safety standpoint because you'd see undisclosed companies, and it happens with other ones as well. Pictures of people being all like, "Oh, look, my printer bed blew up on me," and da 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 da, and I'm all like, "Oh, geez, really?" Then we had that whole fear mongering thing with that printer that caused a fire, which it really didn't. But it's just like anytime something goes wrong, the news media jumps on that and it's all like, oh my gosh, look what a 3D printer did. It burned somebody's house down. It's like, didn't really directly do it. I mean, how many houses burned down from smoking, bad wiring, lightning strikes, people being idiots and overloading circuits? There's so many things, but it's like nobody wants to hear that. So I guess my main concern also with the cheat machines is just safety.
Yeah, that's exactly right. See, we got some more people here. We got Alex. Thank you very much for joining us, Alex. Oh, Chris, is the echo gone?
I think
we'll see whenever the chat catches up.
I think the echo might be because I'm speaking and then you're hearing it on your end because I'm wearing headphones.
Yeah, I turned the speaker back down. It's still echoing. Okay, so let me back it down a little bit further here. How's that?
Chris just loves echo.
Oh, no. It is gone. Okay. Okay. But in case anybody on here doesn't know, this is Calvin, and he's a good friend of mine. We've known each other now, it's been about 6 months now that we've been talking back and forth?
Yeah, for sure. I keep sliding down on my stupid chair. Literally, the padding in this thing is so bad that I have to sit on a pillow that keeps sliding. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm back with my parents. This is great. Not to say that the chairs at grandma's aren't falling apart as well. So what are you going to do?
So how many hours did it take you to drive down there?
I think it took me about 6.5. I mean, I got lucky. I passed one active brush fire in the south end of San Jose, and then I hit another active brush fire. They were nothing big, but they were enough that if a fire department was there, they easily could have shut down a lane for safety. Then I hit one that was in the center median outside Morgan Hill. And then outside of Salinas, I hit traffic that was so bad that Google routed me through downtown Salinas by the old train station to then get back on the 101 because it was telling me it would be like a half hour, 45 minutes if I stayed on the 101. I'm like, screw that.
They were doing street sweeping down through here. And I don't know why they do it. They always do it in the middle of the day. And every single time they do it, it just backs up the traffic just horrible.
It was around like 5:30-ish, I think.
Yeah.
4:35. I don't know. Google said it was an accident, and it said jump ahead this way, and I'm like, I'll take it. So I got into my parent. I think I left grandma's around 4-ish, and then I got to my parents around 10:45-ish. Which, when you consider what it could have been, especially considering I passed so many active fires, and then there were also a ton of fires that had been put out days before, but you could see like the black spots along the side of the road. And I'm like, oh, wow, glad I didn't hit those. But the only times I stopped was Morgan Hill to gas up my car because I was almost out of gas. And I figured I could get down to there, get out of the city. And then if I'd gassed up there, I knew that I could make it down to my parents' house on that tank of gas, which I did. So that was nice. So I just stopped once outside Santa Barbara to use the restroom and just got right back on the freeway.
Man, I don't blame you.
I was just like, okay, you know what? We're just going to drive and we're going to get there.
just go.
Just go. I mean, I even skipped out on getting lunch at In-N-Out like 15 minutes from my parents' house. I'm like, nah, I'll just go home.
You turned on In-N-Out?
Yeah, I went there like the next day or a day after, so it wasn't that big of a deal. That's how like want to get there I was.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, the logo contest is still going on. So far, I haven't got any entries yet. So hopefully by the end of the month, there'll be some entries come in.
I got to try and think of a logo for you.
I have to just get the Make It with Calvin deal.
Oh yeah, this wonderful piece of engineering.
You guys should have seen. I should have just started the stream from the very beginning. I go to send him the link, and he goes and he comes back in, and he's like, "Oh, wait a minute, I got to put something on."
I swear, one of these days, when I go to meet somebody new who might or might not know who I am, I'm just going to probably walk up to them and be like, "Hi, I'm Make It with Calvin. Nice to meet you." And they're like, "What's your name?" "Make It with Calvin." "Oh, really?"
Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Hey, Keith. Hey, Logan.
Yes, Curtis, I cannot wait to see what you've got.
Hey, what's up, PJ?
Hey, PJ, how you doing?
I got like a late night party going on. It's like a late night party in here.
I know. Especially for Unlikely. I mean, he's what, 2 hours behind us or ahead of us?
Something like that. It's probably like 1 in the morning almost.
And PJ, he's back in the East Coast. Man.
Y'all's nuts.
Yeah, but anyway, we started out by kind of talking about cheaper printers. I'm just kind of waiting for everybody to kind of join in. But
jump back on it.
Yeah, I personally like the cheaper printers because honestly, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have really learned that much about them. If I would just start out with this one here, because problem-wise, I have had maybe 2 problems the entire time I've owned it, and it's mainly been like the nozzle throat and then the nozzle. Other than that, it's been rock solid. Now the other one though, that's the one that trained me, was the i3.
I hear you. I mean, I guess my take is, and I'm saying this as somebody who bought an Ultimaker 2 as his very first machine, which is pretty much just like jumping in off the deep end price-wise, obviously. Like, oh yes, the very first machine I'm going to buy is a $2,500 3D printer. But I will say, honestly, I don't regret buying it for a minute just because it's been so reliable. I can literally carry the thing, throw it in my car. I literally drove down with the thing in the passenger seat to my parents' house, rode in the car for 6.5 hours, set it up, plug it in. No need to relevel the bed. Prints just fine.
Now, which printer was your first printer?
The Ultimaker 2.
Ultimaker 2.
Yeah.
And how about the Thingomatic?
That was my impulse buy. Long story short, tested.com had tweeted out, "We're having a moving sale Sunday at this location in San Francisco, this time to this time. Come and check it out." And I'm all like, you know what? Might as well. Thinking to myself, what's the worst that can happen? I don't buy anything. I had at the time a monthly transit pass. It didn't cost me anything to get down there. And it was cool to meet Norm and Sean and stuff and check out their old set and stuff. And I'm poking around like, oh, they got a printer. So then I like offhand ask him like how much for the Thingomatic, and Sean goes off and asks Norm or somebody like that and comes back and goes, "That's $50. And like the moment he said that, I'm like, okay, my hands are now going to touch the printer so nobody else can claim it.
You got it for how much?
$50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And then I also got like some sanding stick things. So I asked Norm, who was playing checkout guy, he goes, "Yeah, what did Sean say?" Sean said $50 for the printer. I don't know how much for this stuff. He goes, "No, I'll just sell it to you off for $50. I'm like, deal. They couldn't promise that they knew that they told me the machine turned on, but they couldn't promise that it actually printed. I'm like, I don't care. Just looks cool as a set item for $50.
Exactly. $50. I mean, you can do all kinds of work to that.
Yeah, exactly. So when I bought it for $50, I'm like, you know what? If the thing just sits in the corner and looks cool, I'd always wanted to have an older 3D printer just to have it for comparison's sake. And if it ran, that's awesome. If it didn't, no big deal. So the original hot end just was absolute garbage on the thing. I couldn't get it to print very well. Like every 4th print, it would jam, so I had to tear it apart. And I just got to the point where I'm like, I know the machine can work. It's just this hot end and extruder are holding me back. So the time that I went down to Matter Hackers for the meetup with Joel when I was visiting my family, That's a whole nother off-stream story in and of itself. I ended up buying I think it was like a $60 or $75 E3D hot end, but I don't regret buying that for a minute. That thing is seriously solid. And then I just ended up machining my own printer, extruder, hot end holder assembly for it. So, I mean, it's like, I looked at it this way. I bought a $50 machine. I might have had to put in about $100 worth of work and materials to get it to work, but it works. And then Caleb over at BuildTech was nice enough to send me like a pre-production flex plate to stick on the thing, which is like the first flex plate I had. They sent me that for free, which was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then I guess the people that make those linear plastic bushings saw some tweets that I'd done about trying to 3D print some bearings, and then sent me the ones that I'm using now. And it's just like, the thing probably has like close to like another $50, $75 in free goodies that people have donated. I'm like, I'll take it. But it's a cool machine. I do have to admit, though, it is kind of interesting that a machine that is that old can actually print, if you know what I mean. Did it freeze up or something? Can everyone still see Jimmy? Because he froze on my screen. I'm still here. I know, I'm literally looking at like a freeze frame of Jimmy right now and going, what's going on here? Oh wait, I think he might be coming back on. Wait, where's Jimmy? Yeah, I took over Jimmy's channel. That's right, Logan.
There we go.
Oh, there you are. We lost you there for
what's going on with that?
We lost you there for a second.
So it was me. Yeah, I got the wired connection, so I don't understand that.
That is weird. Because literally, it's like I'm just staring at you, and I noticed you like went freeze frame, and I noticed you not saying anything, and I'm like, crap. What's going on? I'm like, is Jimmy playing a practical joke, and he's like paused his camera just to like mess with me or something? That's a good one, Logan. Calvin's Tidbits. That's what I should have named my extras channel, not make it with Calvin Extras. I should have called it Calvin's Tidbits.
There you go. I gotta go back into the chat. So apparently the chat even froze up on me too, because when it reconnected, all of a sudden everything popped up again.
Yeah, I was totally talking smack. That's totally correct, Chris.
Your guitar had duct tape on it, and now my arm, that adhesive is a fashion statement.
What's up, Daniel?
We got Daniel in the house? We do have Daniel.
Yeah, we do.
How you doing, my friend?
Dude, this is awesome.
Let's see, what's this up here? I really lost out a lot on the chat here. Wow.
Oh, yeah. All kinds of good stuff.
My boy C-Dub and Father Jimmy. That's a good one.
Oh man, if people saw the outtakes that did not make it to air from sandblasting, they'd totally believe it. I still love your line. Make sure you edit that out of the final cut.
Yeah, you put it in the first.
No, not that part. Not the one where you go, oh crap, I always mess my lines up on camera. The other part when I was telling you about what happened before I drove down, and you're all like,
yeah,
oh yeah, you got to cut that part. Oh man. Did we catch Heather's pink F1? Yeah, that thing is pretty gnarly. It's crazy.
What's
Have you seen that? Heather from A Pyro is literally making an all pink Daniel Niore, sorry if I screwed your name up. Please feel free to chew me out in the comments below. F1 car, all in pink, I think it is. Just because, you know, that's what Heather does. She makes everything in pink.
Oh, wow. That's going to be cool.
It looks awesome. I think it'd be really cool if she was able to get like some like purple flex filament. Like, I can't pronounce it, but it's spelled Recreus, I think it is. It's from Spain, flexible filament. Make like some really sweet like purple tires. That thing would look epic.
Oh, that would. Let's see, Keith. So Jimmy, what do you do for a living? I do sandblasting and equipment painting. If you've watched some of my videos, you'll see where sometimes I got paint and stuff on my hands. I'll come in from a job and I'll change out a printer or whatever. A lot of times I'll be recording that way, but that's what I do for a living. I do that during the day, and then at night I work at a department store. I process returns.
His sandblasting setup is seriously no joke. If you watch the video that I have on my channel about sandblasting 101, you get to see it. It is nuts. Literally, the generator / the air compressor unit is massive. The sand tank is massive, and the nozzle's just terrifying.
You let go of that thing when it's going, and it'll hurt you.
Oh yeah, it's like I had visions of that thing just like whipping all around the parking lot like the night before. Like, oh, that's not pretty.
Yeah. Let's see. Get back into the chat here. So show you guys
Average
Joe, how you doing today or tonight
or whatever it is where you're at?
Hey, Junior. Yes, I'll definitely hit you up on Facebook. Thank you very much. Nice to pick up a little hobby sandblasting. Yes, the sandblasting, it's pretty cool. I mean, but man, it depends on what size you get. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They'll go down to Harbor Freight, they'll buy a sand pot, and then they'll start sandblasting, and they can't figure out how come it's not really working. And what it is, if you hook it up to a little air compressor that doesn't have the correct amount of CFM for the size nozzle that's on the sandblaster, it won't work.
My dad had problems with that. He had problems with either wet sand clogging things up, or that exact problem, just not enough air to drive the blaster. So effectively, it would just be like you're almost better off just shoveling sand at something versus like trying to sandblast it.
Yeah, that's the truth. Because up where at my night job, I used to sell over in the hardware department, and they'd always come up and say, "Oh yeah, I want to get this sandblaster, and then I want to get an air compressor." I'm like, "That air compressor is not going to do it. You need to get that air compressor." Why would I want that one? Because the one you're looking at, it's only got like 1.5 CFM at 90 PSI, and you're going to want to go at least 90 PSI. You're going to need about 15 CFM in order to run it.
That's like one of the things also that nobody realizes. It's like whenever people are like, well, why don't you just get a better CNC machine, like a pro one, like a used one? It's like the amount of air that those things draw to run all the pneumatic stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, so I bought a machine. Now I got to spend a couple $1,000s on a nice air compressor and air dryer and crap. And it's just like, no, it's always those little things that nobody realizes you need. It's all the support equipment to make the machine operate that takes all your money. If you don't have the right stuff, you're screwed.
Yeah, not to mention the power draw that you're going to need to do with that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like even like the Tormach machines, unless you're getting like the smallest one, I think they need like at least 220, and like the big machines are direct 483 phase. I mean, yeah. What are you going to do? I mean, it's kind of like that's why when I can use other people's machinery, it's great.
Definitely.
I'm thankful to know someone in Southern California who gives me access to his machine shop, and I know somebody out in the Bay Area, more like Modesto area, who gives me access to his machine shop whenever I can make the long trek out to his place. So, it's nice having people with connections, but
See here. Chris, emailed as requested, then crickets. Uh-oh. I wonder, did you email me or? Let's see. Average Joe is 152, well, 155 there now. Wow.
Everybody's drinking the Red Bull.
Definitely. All these people without hair loss. That's the thing about 3D printing. You do it long enough, you'll start pulling your hair out.
You do any hobby long enough and you're going to hit frustration.
Let's see. Emailed them twice, had a perfect video planned out. Meat Creator does keep running. It's been a very good machine. I love it.
As long as it keeps working, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I've even, the filament I'm using now is actually some used filament, and it's dusty and everything else, but this thing just keeps on printing with it. So,
As long as it works, that's all that matters. Oh, geez, Chris, your neighbors must just love you for clearing out the garage right now.
What's that?
Chris is cleaning out his garage right now.
Find his missing diamond grinder.
Gonna start doing some TIG welding there, Chris, or something?
Yeah, that's one thing I've never learned how to do is to TIG weld. I never learned how to do that.
Really? I'm not that great at it, but I can TIG weld things together. I do have to admit, though, if you gave me two options, TIG welding or MIG welding, I'd probably choose TIG, just because you have more control over what you're doing. While with MIG, it's kind of like this dark art with turning knobs and twisting dials and praying you get the settings right. And it's like you're kind of locked in there, and it's like, I don't like that.
It's like back in, it was in 94. I graduated in 92. In 94, my brother decided he wanted to go and get his welding certification. So I just went and tagged along with him. We went down and we signed up at Hartnell, and they said, what you do is you sign up for the pipe welding class, and then you challenge the course, and then you can do the welding certification. So we decided to go for, it was 3/4, I think you're all right for up to 3/4 of an inch. So it's the vertical up and the overhead arc welding. So we took that course, you know, and it took me like 2 tries on each one, but I ended up getting my welding certification. Same for my brother. He got his welding certification. Then they said, well, let's go ahead and start getting you set up so you can get the unlimited, which is you weld, I believe it was 1-inch plate using a flux core. And that was the first time I ever picked up a flux core welder. And man, I was like, I give up.
I mean, I'll admit, if you get a MIG or a flux core dialed in right, you can just blaze through things. But it's getting it set up, that's the big pain. And if you're just doing tiny parts, I mean, 95% of the time, I'll just use my oxyacetylene rig to usually just gas braze things together, because it's more than strong enough for what I'm doing, and it's really fast, you know.
Oxyacetylene is still one of my favorite ways of welding. My next door neighbor, he used to weld muffler pipe using, you know, you can get the rods, the brass covered rod, the wire rods, where you can do it. But the thing is, he would use coat hangers, and he swore by it.
I've heard about doing that. Oh yeah, I know a lot of people who are like, I just use coat hangers with a little bit of flux, and it works like a treat. Hey, what's up, Rick?
We got Rick in there? Hey, Rick.
Yeah. I think the thing that I like the most about oxyacetylene is the fact that one oxyacetylene rig can do almost anything. You can do soldering, brazing, welding, cutting, heating. You know, you can't do that with other stuff. You're locked in there. I mean, and there are limitations to it, but I know a lot of people who swear by it for really thin metal work, because the heat control is so precise.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I've seen people literally like fusion welding thin sheet metal together in videos, just like they take the tip and they move it in there and move it out, move it in, move it out. And it's just like, what?
Man.
Can't do that. Can't do that with a TIG welder super easily, but it's because it preheats the metal, and then when you tip the cone in there, it just melts instantly. Preheats, melts, preheats, melts. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Hey, we're losing Logan. Have a good night, Logan. Thank you for joining.
See you, Logan. I mean, it's like in my case, I bought the regulator, 2 regulators and torch for combo of like $15 at a swap meet. I had to send them out to get repaired, but total cost of repairs was I think like $150, and for like really nice quality solid brass Victor regulators and like a really nice like small jeweler's torch, still was a deal. And then had to pay a bit to get the tanks because I didn't own any tanks yet, so I didn't have anything to bring in for a core fee, but they've lasted a good long time. So man. I mean, that whole thing that I brought down for you to sandblast was all oxy brazed.
Yeah.
Worked good though.
I recognize that. So did you use the brass rod that has the flex on it already, or did you have the type where you heat it up and dip it?
I just used the pre-flexed rods that you can get for like $5 over at Lowe's, but I do also have unflexed rods for those times where I want better control over how it's going to flow. But they both have their time and place, if you ask me.
Yeah, I was taught in school how to do it with where you heat the rod, dip it, and weld. But the one with the flux that's already on the rod, those are nice.
Yeah. I look at it this way. The ones with the flex on the rod are really nice for like quickie work where the material is relatively clean and all the flex is doing is just protecting the metal. But if you're doing stuff that's pretty nasty and dirty, then using the rods that you dip in the flux are nice because you can dip it, smear the flux, dip it, smear the flux, dip it, smear the flux. I just like watch all that black, like gooey flex stuff just like oozing out of there, and you're like, wow, that's getting a bunch of crap out of there. And then the bronze just goes whoop and flows in there. It's great.
What I always love about it is how afterward it always has that glass over it.
Yeah. And it's like you hear it like crackling almost.
Yeah, especially if you quench it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's fun.
Well, let's see here. What's going on in the chat here? It hasn't moved for a bit.
PJ says acetylene balloons are always interesting with the fuse tied on. I don't know if you guys ever saw the show American Hot Rod, which used to be on Discovery, but there was this old guy who worked in the at the place who was like, he did like all the body work. He was like a genius at it, but nobody liked to work with him because he was totally grumpy. But he would always take like his used coffee, like styrofoam coffee cups, fill them up with acetylene, and then light them off and be like, I don't know why my coffee cups keep exploding.
I remember that.
Cranky old Roy with his exploding coffee cups.
He was always going through people, wasn't he?
Oh man, he went through so many people. Like all he ever did was complain about everything.
He did.
Man, that shows. I mean, I was actually watching an episode of an Extreme Machines on VHS, and they had Boyd Coddington on there, and I'm like, oh wow, that's like a time capsule. That dude's been dead for like 8 or 10 years now, I think.
Hey, True Tech. Wow, man. Now you're really going through it. I sure wishing you the best, though, man. That's cool that you're able to major in that. Yeah, that's one thing I got to do is I've got to get this. I got to get into OBS, and I got to figure out how I can add the chat in so everybody else can see the chat after, you know, on the replays.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I got to just sit down and figure it out sometime.
Man, I got OBS to work fine on my laptop, but it took a little bit of getting used to. I think the problem is originally I didn't download the right version of OBS. I think I downloaded 32 instead of 64 or something like that. So that really screwed things up. And then once I downloaded the right version, then it kind of fell into place.
Yeah, I just downloaded that. In fact, it was yesterday. I got OBS Studio, So I just got to get into it and figure it out.
It's not that hard. It's just the tricky part I found, because I set mine up for streaming through Twitch, was getting everything set up to stream through Twitch. But once you have it set up, it's really simple. It's like the host channel, any login credentials, settings, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Daniel's asking if we're going to go to Midwest Rip Rap next year. I would love to. I just don't know if financially if I'll be in a position to do it. That's the only thing.
Same for me. I'm probably still going to be taking care of grandma. I'm probably still going to be dealing with school. So I think unless both me and Jimmy can like land a killer sponsorship, I think we'll be watching everybody's videos from Murph again, sadly.
Yeah.
But hey, at least we'll hopefully, maybe I'm still 50-50, honestly, if I want to go back to a Maker Faire next year or not. It's like every year I'm like undecided, but then I see like who's going to be there and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll go to Maker Faire another time. But that's a whole nother story altogether.
Maker Faire just completely blew my mind. That was awesome up there.
I guess, and you know, this is just my personal opinion, being that I've been there for about I think it'd be my third, being that I've been there 3 different times. It's nothing against Maker Faire. It's just I kind of feel like it's been the same old. You know, it's like you see the same stuff, and it's no offense. I mean, part of me is, I guess the thing that's a little bit frustrating for me is I feel like, yes, there is a lot of cool stuff there, but I also just kind of feel like it's turning into more of a trade show than it is a show and tell. And that's just my personal opinions there. Obviously, everybody might be different. And I understand. I mean, you were fresh and new to it, but I guess for me, like remembering seeing the same thing over and over and over again is a little bit like, can we get something new, please, please, please? You know.
For me, it was meeting the people. I really enjoyed meeting everybody I watch on YouTube. I got to meet almost everybody, except for the exception of like it was Jay's 2 Cents, the Hodge Twins, Backyard Scientists, those kind of guys. Other than that, almost every channel I watch was there.
I think you'd find those people like VidCon and CES. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. That's the main, I'll be honest, the main reason why I go to Maker Faire is to meet up with everybody. It's not so much to see everything that I've already seen before. It's to see everybody, see people at the booths that I know, that sort of thing. Yeah, Chris, I totally go for the $10 corn dogs. I don't.
What's that? $10 corn dogs. They were too, weren't they?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's the other thing that's really frustrating is it's like when you go there, it's like everything is so expensive.
Yeah.
It's like if they didn't soak you for transportation, parking, and admission, they soak you on everything else. And it's like a little rant that I've had with some of the guys in the model train group that I belong to on Facebook. I'm kind of like, you know, here's the main problem with shows is you're spending between parking and admission easily $20-25 just to get your butt in the door. You've probably blown 3/4 or all of your spending budget at that point. You know,
yeah.
It's like, oh, so you expect me to buy stuff after I've shelled out my whole budget? Heck no. You know, I understand charging a little bit for the venue, but it's like when they soak you for parking and they soak you for getting your butt in the door, you're just like, no.
How much did I spend for parking there? Across the street is like $45, wasn't it?
You spent just under $50 for parking, and I spent with a college student discount, I think I spent about like $35, I think, for 2 days of tickets. And then I had to spend about another $10 or $12 just to get from San Francisco to the event and back.
Man.
Yeah. Because going down, what I did is I rode from San Francisco to the Millbury. Then I caught the free shuttle bus from there to the event. And then going back, I didn't really feel like, the first day I didn't feel like riding the bus back because I knew some people on the train going back. So I just rode back with them, which was nice. But then the second day when I had Dustin's massive sword, I rode the bus back to the Millbury because I knew I had 2 transit options to get home. I had either Caltrain or BART, and I wasn't sure if either one was going to let me on with like that giant sword. And I'm all like, oh, okay, I'm just going to try my luck on Caltrain, and if I have any problems, I'll just name drop everybody that I know over there. I'll probably be good. But nobody gave me crap. I mean, I had more problems with people coming up and asking me about the sword than I did like actual problems with it. And I'm just like, oh, that's cool.
Hey, did you see what Daniel said? He said, let's get a bus and do a road trip.
Oh, geez, yes. Can I be the bus driver, like the really irritating person that yells at everybody every 5 minutes?
Oh, man.
That would be great.
That would.
You guys in the back, shut up. You with Calvin said so. Go up. Cut it out. Or you're getting off my bus.
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh, that was great.
That would be fun, though.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, I mean, there are places to get to the Maker Faire that you can park for cheap, but the problem is they're like all really far away from the event. The other thing that really irritated me was how when we went to Maker Faire, we had to walk all the way to the far end of the entrance to get to the press entrance to get our stinking pass. I'm like, why can't you just have a little booth where at the main entrance where you walk up and you go, hi, I'm press and here's my credentials, and get your stupid tags and stuff. That really, 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 really irritated me.
Well, what I didn't realize is that we could have actually went over to that first and came in that way. I didn't realize that until afterward. Then after I went through all that, got in there, it's like, okay, now I got to go back over there.
Ouch. Yeah, I was able to get in over there, but it was like, it was really irritating that we had to, you know, do all that just to get in there with our press pass crap. And then we never even found that press lounge area, which I figured out was like total rubbish from Angus. he goes, I think there was like,
did you read that from Average Joe? He's off the bed. He unplugged the printer with 80%. No.
I think it's time to go to bed at that point.
I'm sorry, my friend. Well, you have a good night. But man, yeah, that hurts.
That sucks.
I did the same. I was telling Calvin this the other day that I did the same thing on my printer the other day. I was doing something around here, and I think I flipped the switch down here on the power strip, and it killed it. I'm like, no, why did I do that?
For a while there in SF, we were actually having problems with just random blackouts happening and in our neighborhood. So I have the printer set up through one of those uninterruptible power supply units, and it gives it about 5 to 8 minutes of print time. But it was like, it never dies when I'm doing the prints. I'm like, go figure. But I do have one of those backup units. But even then, it's like if the power outage goes more than 5 to 8 minutes, you're like, I'm screwed. But at least it's something if it's like a 30-second or 1 minute blackout before they get it back on. At least it gives you that buffer time. But yeah, long prints always scare me to death because that's when something goes wrong, and it goes wrong badly. That's
one thing at that new printer that I don't know if they're rebranding. I think it's just a continuation, but it's G-Tech is manufacturing a printer that just barely came out, and it's got a filament sensor. So if it runs out of filament, it's supposed to pause the print until you reload the filament. And then it's got a power feature where if it gets unplugged, power outage, whatever, that it pauses the print and it'll restart once you power it back on.
Those are pretty cool. The Raise 3D N2 Plus that my old job got on my suggestion after watching Joel's videos and talking to him about it a bit, it had that feature, but the problem is instead of heating the nozzle up and then trying to move, it would, if the nozzle got stuck on the print, like it stopped like doing infill or something like that, and it didn't stop in like a dead space, the nozzle would obviously get stuck to the print, and then it would try and home, and it wasn't pretty. So I really hope it has some kind of like feature where if it detects a power outage, it like drops the Z-axis or does something other than just it homes the head. Because if it does that, you're
Yeah,
screwed. You know,
exactly.
that's the thing is I hate to sound like a cynical jerk half the time, but I'm not impressed when something says it has power restart capabilities. I'm like, great, so what does it do? But if it has the ability to either tell that the power is going to happen and it does something, or it's smart enough to reheat the nozzle and to the last program, to like the program temperature in the program, and do something, that would be cool. But until somebody can figure out that, I'm probably just going to be sitting there going, that's cute.
Exactly.
What is it going to do? I mean, it's like Haas Automation that makes big old CNC machines. They actually have a video showing you how when like a tap goes into a hole, they literally kill the power partway through the program and then show you how the machine is smart enough to, after you punch in some commands, back the tap out of the hole, knowing exactly where it was at when it stopped, back it out of the hole, and then you don't scrap the part. It's kind of like that. It's like instead of the machine just homing itself and busting everything, it's intelligent enough to safely pull itself out of there and then do all its homing business. So that's something that I feel like in its own way 3D printers need to be able to do, where it preheats everything back to where it needs to, very slowly moves the bed down, homes the head, and that sort of thing. But I think that's still honestly a ways out there.
Yeah, it probably is. Daniel says we ought to skip Midwest Rip Rap and go straight to Sweden instead.
I like
sounds
that
good
idea.
to me.
I just need to get a passport and we're good.
Oh, and Tinkering Corner is going to bed. Have a good night, my friend. Thank you very much for joining.
Oh gosh, next model should be an open bus. Oh, that's a good one. Hey, Daniel, when you design it, don't forget to put me as the cranky driver up front.
Yeah, with the coin. Put on there C-dub.
Yeah. One of these days, I am actually going to make a coin that says C-dub.
Okay, so we got to know, where did C-dub come from?
Okay, the long story short about C-dub is, a long time ago when I was working at a machine shop that used to be in Milpitas, and then the two owners split and one of them went back to Modesto, who I'm still friends with today. One of his coworkers is literally like his right-hand man, like knows exactly what he needs to get done. It's almost crazy. It's like, how the heck do you know that? But the funny thing is, we were joking about like rap names or something, and I forget if it was me or it was my friend Dave came up with it, but somehow C-dub got started, kind of like that was like my nickname. So like, instead of just calling me Calvin, to be like, what's up, C-dub? And I'm all like, what's up, Dave? Like totally acting like complete and utter like idiot gangsters. It was great. So then that like carried on for a while, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then I think we were talking, and then it kind of came back up again. And I'm kind of like, oh, hey, yeah, we should totally bring back C-dub. Yeah, C-dub would be awesome. and that's sort of how the whole C-dub dorkiness got started. Although I will say that I am going down to LA on Friday with Danielle and a couple of her friends. And I might be packing a GoPro or two. And there may or may not be a little bit of C-dub dorkiness that goes onto a video for the extras channel.
That's going to be funny.
I don't know if you guys saw the ocean video that I put together when I went to the beach with my sister, but that was gnarly.
Merriweather or McGregor? I'm going to say it's probably going to be Merriweather, although it should be McGregor, but
I'm leaning towards neither.
You're leaning towards who?
Neither.
No, I'm printing on build tack.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. In like the wave that made it on camera before the nasty one, literally I got caught in, I went down on that wave thinking to myself, "Oh, I'll just, get blown over by the wave. It'll be no big deal." Probably not the brightest idea, but I know I was going to get knocked down, so I'm like, "Oh, what the heck? It's no big deal." So that one literally I was like going along, then it literally made me do a corkscrew. And if you watch really closely on camera, you actually see the top of my boogie board, and then boop, I go back up again. It literally made me do a 360. And then when I went under with that big nasty one, you couldn't see it on camera because it was too murky, but literally my boogie board was dragging me one way because of the strap. And then the wave was trying to drag me another way. And then there's like all these like pebbles on the bottom. So it's like my head's like probably like this far away from the bottom. I'm just hearing like all these rocks like whooshing underneath my head as I'm literally like tumbling around, and I'm like feeling like myself being like drug everywhere. And I'm going, I really hope the camera don't get broken.
You can tell that was a total sneaker wave. That just came up from nowhere.
That one was nuts. I mean, I could see it coming, but the problem is the waves were breaking like within like 5 or 6 feet of shore. It was crazy. But then if you went out there a little bit, it was like dead calm.
Yeah. That's the way it always does. It'll be like dead calm, and then all of a sudden one of those little sneakers just come up from nowhere.
And that one was way nastier than the others. Oh, and within about like half a second of me being underwater, my scuba mask that I was wearing went whoosh, clean off my face. So next thing I know is I'm like swallowing and breathing water while upside down. I'm just like, this isn't good. I mean, I was so dizzy from being spun underwater so many times. It took me like, literally, I got out of the water stumbling, going, I think I actually saw the strap for my mask, but I was so dizzy from being thrown around underwater that I tried to go for it, but the wave was like, nope. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that was bad. When I saw that wave coming, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be good. And then when it hit you, it's like, oh, man. And then he came back up and I lost my mask.
I'm like, if this is bad, I was like super, super happy that I caught that on camera, because I was using the $60 GoPro knockoff here. That's not, I mean, you can tell the video quality is not that great for being 1080, but for $60, I mean, it works fine for time lapses. It looks really good on time lapses, but those you can get away with a lot lower quality for actual video. Probably the most annoying part about it was when I got out of the water to when the camera reset itself from being in the low light. You saw it on camera. It took it about like 2, almost 3 seconds, I think, to readjust, while my GoPro can do it pretty much like that. Oh, it doesn't care. So that was probably my only gripe with the camera, but I figured it was a really good thrashing to put it through. The waterproof case survived, and the video actually turned out decently. I figured if I'm going to be doing something that stupid, I'd much rather risk a $60 camera than my like $300 main filming camera.
Man.
Yeah, but that last wave was just like, I mean, my sister's like, are you going back out there again? I'm like, absolutely, positively, heck no.
I don't blame you.
I'm like, I think that's the ocean's way of telling me no. And that was still like 2 hours away from peak high tide coming in. Yeah, as I checked the tide charts, thinking to myself, oh, let me just see when high tide is, because that's when all the good waves are going to come in. Not realizing
there's no storms coming in or anything either.
Perfectly clear day. But the thing is, that beach about probably 1,000 feet away is a bunch of rocks that a bunch of people have died on. So that beach is definitely no joke when it comes to the surf conditions if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same beach that me and Danielle filmed our GoPro handles video at, but she's a pool lifeguard at the YMCA. So I felt a little bit safe being out there with somebody like that. But the reason why we had to go out so far on camera with that is because when we filmed at that time, I think it was lower tide. So we literally had to go out like 100, 150 feet to actually get out to where, one, we weren't getting crashed over by waves all the time, but two, to actually get to deep enough water that we were actually floating to pull the shots off. And she still went out farther because she felt comfortable with it. And I'm like, my little freezing white self is going to stay right near the shore. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Keith's asking how often I adjust the bed on this. This one here, I probably haven't touched it for over a month. It just stays, as long as I don't really mess around with it a lot, it stays put pretty good. I think it was about a month ago was the last time I did it.
That's impressive. I think I adjust my Ultimaker's bed about maybe once every month and a half, 2 months. Depends upon how much I'm printing. But usually it's not so much adjusting the bed leveling as it is just adjusting the nozzle height, because I think what happens over time is the switch probably loses a little bit of accuracy over time, or a nut wears out or something, or the nozzle wears a little bit. But it's not like it's, oh my gosh, I got to adjust it before every print, terrifying thing like that, which is at least nice.
Yeah. Junior's asking what size print material did I use? This is 1.75 millimeter filament. So about the same size as some of your weed whacker line.
I don't recommend putting weed whacker line in though.
No. Although I've been tempted to try it.
I've seen people do it, but I'm just like, I don't think it's a very smart idea for a whole host of reasons.
Rick is asking if anybody has received the G-Tech email about 50% off. I have not. I have not seen that. Noodles taste like burnt tongue.
That is the worst.
Oh, man. Hey, Rick, how is your printer bot simple working? Smalls. I still got the smalls. I need to bring it up here. I need to start printing on video with it. Honestly, it's working great. How's yours working, by the way?
Remind me when I get back to SF. I was going to try and make you up a little G10 flex plate to just like put on the bed so you could put bell tack or whatever on it and flex the prints off. But I totally ran out of time. So when I get back to SF, remind me about that and I'll make that up for you and send it down. Or if you're up in the area, I'll give it to you. Because I was thinking to myself, that would be a lot safer than you using a pocket knife to try and like fry the prints. I just had visions of like you going, I cut myself. I'm gonna cut the stream by now, and you're like running off set, dripping blood or something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, no, we don't need to see Jimmy bleeding on camera because he screwed up taking the print off the bed.
Oh man. Oh no, Rick's printer is messed up at the moment.
What's the matter with it?
That. Yeah, Rick, definitely. If you have that email, definitely let's get that forwarded out. Not that I can afford one right now, but man, that would be a really good deal.
Everybody's gonna be buying one now.
It'll be like that. What was that crepe bottle where it was on Wish?
Oh, jeez.
Everybody was buying that thing.
Oh, don't get me started.
Next day I get a refund.
Don't get me started on that. That one, I mean, probably it's just me being cynical again, but that one I totally smelled a rat on it from the beginning. Like, seriously, how can you even build a printer for that cheap, supposedly? I mean, but that was just me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm definitely glad that you got refunded for it because it was a scam, but that was frustrating because you had like the two factions fighting against each other. Yes, I'm getting my Wish printer for $5, and then you had the other group, which is like, just shut up about it already. It's a scam. Everybody's been refunded, and then it kind of just like fizzled out and died. But I'm just like, we did not need that.
The only reason why I went ahead and I did it is because first off, I've I have bought from Wish now for well over a year. My very first microphone, that Boya, that was the very first thing I ever bought from Wish. And I've had, I think there was a memory card I ordered one time and it didn't show up when it was supposed to. So they said, give it 2 more days. I gave it 2 more days. They contacted me, said, has it come? I said, nope. Okay, we're refunding it.
I mean, I'll put it this way. It seems like they have a really good customer service network to prevent you from getting screwed over. So that's a good thing. But I just think in general, it kind of irritated me that people, and this is no offense to people who bought it. I mean, I understand some people went in on it just to see what they would get, which I totally understand. I mean, it's everybody's money, everybody's choice, everybody's whatever. But I just kind of felt like everybody kind of just like head first dove in after it without really thinking it through. Like, gee, is this really for real? I mean,
Right.
and that I think is the part that irritated me the most, was the fact that everybody was just like, oh my gosh, it's so cheap, I gotta buy it. Not, oh wow, is it so cheap because it's not gonna work, because it's a total piece of crap. And that was
Right.
the thing, that was the trend that really kind of just, it rubs me the wrong way about the whole community. Is even if it's a pile of stinking, steaming manure, everybody will still run after it and buy it because it's so cheap. And I'm just like, you're missing the point. You're buying a bag of manure. You're not buying something decent, you know. So you kind of get what I mean.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the other reason why I did is because I could kick myself. It was back when I was very first looking for a 3D printer. Originally I was going to, I watched Barnacle deal, and it's like I can't afford to get an Ultimaker. And then I started watching Chuck, and it's like, okay, I can maybe afford to get the Da Vinci. So I was planning on getting Da Vinci, and that was about the time that he started saying, "Wait a minute," and it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not going to buy that Da Vinci. So then I saw a Wanhao on there, and it was a starting bid was $1, and I didn't bid on it. And I found out afterward, had I bid on it, nobody else bid on it, and whoever bid the dollar on it ended up winning it.
Oh my gosh.
It was a brand new one, no reserve. Somebody won it for a
Ouch.
dollar.
I a while back, somebody got like $150 um, steam locomotive for like $5 shipped off eBay, because something like that happened. Like somebody set the auction to like end at some ridiculous time. Nobody was going to be there. So the person's just like, screw it, I'm going to try bidding on it. I won it for like $5 plus shipping. And I'm like, that is totally not cool.
That's not cool at all.
I'm like, that's like $150 locomotive new, and you got it for what? Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that predicament, though. It's definitely one of those cases of, it's always the one that got away. But then again, you do have to say to yourself, well, maybe it went to somebody who really, needed it, you know.
Plus, how many horror stories have we heard about one how printers since then too?
I get the idea that they make an okay machine, but I also feel kind of like the problem is there's also so many clones that maybe get rebranded as that, or rebranded so similarly that people can't tell the difference.
Yeah,
And when you kind of run down that clone chain, it's kind of like inbreeding. There's all kinds of problems that come with it. And it just becomes like this snowball effect of one problem jumps on top of another because nobody ever fixed the previous problem. And it just turns into a giant fiasco, So
yeah.
I mean, I know Angus, once he figured out some of the issues with his, and it seems like they were definitely on top of it with some of the issues that he had mentioned and other people had mentioned for fixing it. Unlike another company that will not be named in this stream that just keeps checking out not so great machines. But I do kind of get the idea that Wanhao at least was trying
Yeah.
to make it better, which is a good thing. And it's like in prototyping, the first few tries are never going to be perfect. And I know from experience with designing like my GoPro handles, it took me a couple of tries to finally get the O-rings to work, then a couple of tries to figure out what worked better and all that stuff. But it's kind of like, I guess I kind of feel like, and this is just my opinions personally on it, but it's like when I see that Kodama thing that um, Maker Noob and Joel and Angus were reviewing, I kind of felt like Kodama kind of shot themselves in the foot personally, releasing the machine when they did. I understand it's a pre-production prototype, so I understand they're still ironing out some issues and stuff, but I feel like they really kind of shot themselves in the foot sending out something that had that many issues
Yeah.
for public viewing versus waiting a couple more weeks and ironing some of the issues out and then sending something out. I think that is something that personally I feel is it's a gutsy move, and there's never a perfect way to release something, but I definitely feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot on that one, which is kind of a bummer, but that's their own personal decision to do that. And I respect them for doing that. That's their own thing. I mean, but I also feel kind of like it set a bad precedent for backers and potential backers and things like that. It's not like they were releasing a video series going, hi, we're showing you what's going on, so we're having these problems that we're fixing. It's like, here we're sending out pre-production units, and people keep forgetting that it's a pre-production unit, so there's going to be changes, and no matter how many times you say that, people are not going to buy into that. And me personally, I still found some of the problems concerning, because it's kind of like, where you've come this far with 3D printing, and my $50 Thingomatic with E3D upgrade can do at least the same caliber of prints, and that thing's got the stock electronics on board. I mean, what can I say? So that's just my personal little opinions about it, coming from somebody who's done designing and iterative design work and things like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head.
And like I said, it's totally my opinions, and whatever company decides to do, I totally their prerogative. But I do feel kind of like companies need to be, especially when they're sending something to somebody who has that much of a foothold in the community, they better send something at least decent, or it's going to really backfire quickly on them.
Yeah.
Because bad news goes around way faster than good news.
So Junior is saying, so Googling 3D printers, hecka cheap, is a bad idea, LOL. Yes and no.
do you want Jimmy's opinion first, or do you want my cynical opinion?
Pretty much the less you spend, the more work you're going to have to put into it. So if you're wanting something that works right out of the box, of course you got to pony up the bucks a little bit on it. But if you want something that you don't mind getting your hands dirty and figuring out the problems on all that, cheap could be the way to go.
I mean, I guess my take on the cheap printers are a little bit like what Jamie said, but also my opinion is, are you better off spending a couple $100s more to really get something that's going to last in the long run versus just picking up a beater machine that's going to last, say, 6 months, but it's going to take more money in parts to fix and upgrade to make it really work than is really worth throwing into it. And then now you're really in the hole for however much you spend. So that's kind of like my opinion is, if you're going into it and you have a really good knowledge of stuff and you have a bit of a budget and you're intentionally like trying to be like Chuck and seeing how cheap you can build a machine for, but he has a lot of knowledge and experience, good. But for a beginner, I would personally actually recommend against getting a really cheap machine, just because most people don't have the mechanical knowledge and aptitude to do that sort of stuff,
Right.
And for me, I mean, I have a lot of experience with things, but that's the problem, is I always take it from the perspective of, this person knows nothing, and I'm going to base my suggestions off of what somebody with no experience would be best off with.
Yeah. Daniel is asking, if you guys didn't have to think about the money, what desktop printer would you get? If I didn't have to worry about money, I would get the Ultimaker 3 that was the extended, the taller one. Definitely. And if I didn't have to worry about the money, I would also order a Prusa MK2 with the 4-filament kit.
Oh, man. In my case, I will probably get stabbed by you guys for saying this, but personally, if I had to pick a machine, I know it's probably not technically considered desktop, but I'd probably actually consider one of those Stratasys PolyJet machines.
Yeah, those are nice.
And the only reason why I say that is a lot of the model trained 3D printing that I do is tiny components, and PolyJet is the only way to go because of the dissolving supports on them. It doesn't leave any scars behind or anything like that. And the the really fine precision it can do is just absolutely amazing. But obviously, I understand that they're not cheap. So that's just why I keep throwing all my orders to Lance over at nerves.com. I'm always like, hey, buddy, here's some prints. The funny thing is, I actually put in an order like right before I went down to SF, and he's all like, wait, so the shipping address is right? I'm like, yeah, it's being sent to my friend's place because I really don't feel like driving across the bay to deliver them after I get back from my trip. He goes, fair enough. But yeah, it's amazing what those professional machines can do, although the price tag is extremely steep on them, which is understandable.
Man. Let's see. Try to see if there's anything else. Chris is saying Harbor Freight printers.
I wouldn't doubt it. Give them another year.
I know. Give them another year. They'll be out.
I'm not saying that they'll be very impressive, but they'll something.
I see them rebranding the Monoprice is what I see them doing.
Probably. I mean, as it is, so much of that stuff is rebrands anyways. It's like I have a Harbor Freight saw that is also a jet saw that's also a grizzly saw. Probably like 4 or 5 other names, and they all share the exact same castings, body. Maybe they have slightly improved stuff on it, but they're all the same base thing, and they all charge you wildly different prices for it. It's like, well, screw it, I might as well just buy it from the local Harbor Freight.
Yeah, a lot of them are kind of like what was that car that Mitsubishi made? The Mitsubishi Eclipse. Remember that thing? It was the Eagle Talon, the Dodge Stealth. I forget. There's like 4 or 5 different names for the same exact car. The only thing they changed out was the badging on the outside of it and the steering wheel.
Oh my gosh, that is just wrong. Chris is saying that my lathe is the same as your saw, meaning it's kind of like it's relabeled under like 50 bazillion names. Is it that little teeny tiny crappy lathe that my dad shredded the gearbox on that we're doing the belt conversion on? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's a pretty cool little setup you guys did on that, though.
I'll have to send you some photos tomorrow of like what the actual setup looks like, but it's pretty sweet. I was actually seriously amazed that my dad was able to take an old drill press motor from like one of those like really cheesy like $60 on eBay drill presses, take the motor, the 2 pulleys, and actually fit those over onto his lathe, and that thing runs nice.
Yeah.
So what he's going to potentially, it probably won't make it into this filming cut because I want to try and get an update video out of it by Saturday. So what he's probably going to do is take one of those. Originally, he was going to take like one of those router speed controllers that you can pick up for like $10 at Harbor Freight, but it turns out it does not work with the kind of motor on there. It only works with certain motors. So what he's now going to see about doing is using like those little knob switches for like controlling a fan speed, like proportional control thing. So he's going to see if that's going to work on the lathe or not. But he also has the pulley steps, which is nice. So he can get close and then he can kind of dial in the speed with the knob, which is sweet. But the fact that he even was able to make it work in the first place was impressive, because I had visions of getting this email from him. Yeah, sorry, son. The lathe thing isn't really working. So, yeah, thanks for machining the parts, and that's the end of that episode. So we get like a really crappy video because he still has like one of those ancient phones. Get like this really crappy video. He's like, "Oh, look, the lathe is running," and I'm all like, start doing like a full-on Fred Sanford there, like, "Oh."
Hey, Junior's taking off. Have a good night, my friend. I'll Facebook you tomorrow and let you know exactly what songs that I'm looking at. And no, Tom did get rid of the car finally. My brother used to have a Mitsubishi Eclipse.
True Tech saying a CNC lathe will be a future project on the list of things to make my shop that much more cramped. Yeah, I have an Atlas 618 lathe, and on and off for like the past like 3.5 years, I've been working on making like one of those manual turret lathe attachments. I still have not completed the thing. It's like sitting in pieces. I got like 90% of the pieces done. I'm just like, I need to try and put this thing together, or I'm just going to throw it into a box and it can sit for another 4 years and then get used. But I haven't worked on it yet, but I keep telling myself, I need to work on it. Then it's like, after playing with a big professional CNC lathe, I'm like, but I like professional machines so much faster. So much more dangerous. But, you know.
Well, let's see. It's 11:46. So you want to go ahead and call it?
Sounds good to me.
Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Sure appreciate it. And we'll see how this all goes. I mean, we've been talking about maybe start doing a show together, but you know, it's something we've been thinking about. So when the video goes up, I guess right after it ends, it automatically goes up. If everybody could just leave a note in the comments, you know, what you think about it. And if you want us to keep on doing it, we'll see about doing maybe a monthly or weekly show or something.
And kind of to put in kind of like what the idea was that Jimmy and I had a long time ago is making it kind of like a show where we have like a theme every episode. And originally for this one, we were kind of talking about maybe doing a theme about like low price machines, if they're really worth it or not, that sort of thing. Like, are they really worth it? So I think we'll have to try and like actually like figure out like a topic and try and stick to it for if we're going to try and do the show. But that was kind of the thoughts, was if we were going to do a show, we'd have like topics every week, or episode, I should say, and then kind of stick to that. And obviously we'd branch off and stuff, which is cool. But the idea is to kind of like have a more of like a generalized theme about like some of it 3D printing, maybe some of it non 3D printing, kind of just, you know, bringing our perspective, because obviously we have totally different backgrounds, totally different experiences, totally different age brackets. But I think that's actually what makes it interesting, is we bring our own separate flavor and experiences and opinions and things. But I think it's actually nice having that contrast between the two of us, because that's what makes it interesting. It's not just, yes, I agree with everything you said, oh, that's a great idea. It's, we're going to have differences in opinions, but that's actually what makes it a good thing, and actually makes it more constructive and more educational for everybody, being that everybody's going to have a different opinion. But you know what, that's actually a good thing, and it leads to more discussion, and it leads to more questions being asked and all that good stuff.
What he actually said is it'd be interesting to see what an old guy has to say about stuff.
Did I say that?
And I'm like, okay, whippersnapper.
I then very quickly jumped in my car and drove away before he started sandblasting me.
That's the thing that sucks about getting old. You don't realize you're getting old until somebody tells you you're getting old.
And on that bombshell, good night.
Yeah, you notice he's not saying, I never said that.
I plead the fifth. That's all I'm going to say.
I plead the fifth. You ever watch Dave Chappelle?
No, but it's a line that I have with certain people that I know, when I've been able to do certain things that are definitely things that could get them in trouble. It's always like, I plead the fifth if that happened. I'm like, I plead the fifth through.
He had this one episode where it was like, what was it? If drug dealers got treated like the banks and all that. So he goes to testify in front of the Congress. And then he's like, all you got to do is go up there and testify, and then we drop all the charges. Okay. And so he goes in, he's straight up drug dealer. And they're like, okay, so is it true that you sold drugs to children? He goes, I plead the fifth. Oh, that was a funny one.
Oh, that is so wrong.
Okay, guys. Well, let's go ahead and call it a night. Thank you very much, Calvin, for joining me. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us in the chat. Sure appreciate it.
It's been a blast.
So, anything you want to say?
Not really.
No final words?
Nope, I already got my great line of the night done.
Go ahead and plug your channel since you're on mine. Go ahead and plug it.
Okay, if you guys want to check out my stuff, feel free to jump on over to YouTube with Make It with Calvin. That's pretty much that. Also, I'll see if Jimmy can put in my social media links down below. You can find me on Twitter at Make It with Cal. You can also find me on Instagram at Make It with Calvin. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I'm trying, but I'm not fully able to always do it. Put out 2 videos a week now, Saturday mornings, and I'm debating switching to Wednesday nights because I'm doing them in the morning. But I know there's like no ideal time period to release it, so I might just stick with mornings because it's easier. But I'm trying to keep on like a 2 videos a week cycle for now, but we'll see if I can keep that up when school starts and stuff. But I still try and shoot for at least 1 video a week when life isn't too crazy.
Yeah, that's why I try to do 2 videos a week. I try to do one. I call it my Wednesday video, but it's actually Tuesday night. Like I try to do it about 9 p.m. That way Eastern time. It's actually Wednesday. I try to do it like 9 p.m. on Tuesday night, and the same thing on Friday nights. Because my main thing is I try not to interfere with other channels if I can get out of it.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, in my case, it's kind of like I've just done that, so I'm kind of like sticking to that. But obviously, there's so many people out there. You're never going to be able to not interfere with somebody. But yeah, whenever I can, I try and just like stick to sort of a schedule because I figure at least it's something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, you have a great night. Take care. I'm going to go ahead and end it.
Later.
Bye.